Welcome to XY on the Fly. If this is your first time here, don't be afraid. This is our first time doing a podcast, and it's only going to get better from here on out. So welcome.
Our show is unscripted, and we're not going to be making any apologies. This is a channel for real men and women who love real men, and we're going to cover all kinds of things. We're going to have fun. We're not going to be political. Well, we might hit a political thing once in a while, but we want to stay away from all the hate and the garbage. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of you who hate us, but that's fine. I'm talking about all the hate that's being spread over this country with the politics, police, and all that. We want to have a good time. That's what XY on the Fly is about.
And for all those trolls out there, because I know you're going to hit this page, beware. I love trolls. You guys are my favorites, so beware. I might hit you up on this podcast. I might let you know. I might respond to some of your comments, so beware.
Yeah, and please keep that in mind, all you trolls, directed at him, because he does like them. I can't stand it. My feelings get hurt so easily. Leave me alone.
Oh, great. I'm sitting next to a snowflake. Can't. Well, it's been a great podcast. We'll see you guys later because I'm not dealing with this any longer. But let's get this out. We're both veterans. I was Navy. He was Navy and Army. And
Glutton for punishment.
And I've always wondered why, like after you were Navy, why Army?
Yeah, that comes down to not thinking things through. Fortunately, okay, the first reason, let me explain to you guys why I left the Navy. I was an operations specialist. That's a secret clearance. And your seashore rotation is 5 years at sea for 2 years at land. And, that's great if you're single. But I got married my last year of the Navy. And that definitely is not where I didn't want to be out on the water all that time. Like in 1 year, my ship, which was Amphib Navy, was the USS Cleveland. It's decommissioned now. But we steamed so much, we were known as the Steamin' Cleve. And 1 year, we were away from our home port, which my home port was San Diego, 9 months out of the year. So that's not conducive to a good marriage. So I decided, I'm not doing the military anymore. Even when I went before my commander, he said, the captain of the ship, he said, hey, you've got a $34,000 re-enlistment bonus. And I said, it could be $134,000. I'm not re-enlisting. So I got out. I was out a year and a half, couldn't get a decent job. So I was going to go back to where I knew I could get a paycheck. And I decided to join the Army. Now, what was the problem with that is I was in a classification in the Navy. Like I said, it was a secret clearance, and it was a critical rate. That's why they were offering me the $34,000. I could have traded over right into another department of the military that nobody thinks of until it's too late. So a year and a half later, I joined the Army for free. But after I had signed up, and I was stuck, there was no getting out of it, all of a sudden it dawned on me, why didn't I join the Coast Guard? I could have switched right over into that, but I didn't. Fortunately for me, it worked out really well. Any of you who were in the service, or if you've had friends who were in the service, you know, especially in the Army, you're out in the field all the time. I hate being dirty. I hate not being able to get to shower. And so I get to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, home of the airborne, hoorah. And I just got so fortunate. I got put in a COSCOM unit. We went to the field 3 days a year. How's that for a blessing? I could fall in crap and come up smelling like a rose. I'm telling you right now, that's how it works out for me.
I thought it was funny how you said it wasn't being away that long wasn't conducive for a relationship. But I know guys who it's great for their relationship, and as soon as they retire, they get divorced. So
True story. When I was in the Navy, We had a guy, his wife was flying to every port we hit. So it's not like he could claim loneliness or anything. The last port, well, our last port on the way home is Hawaii, but before that is the Philippines. That's the only place she didn't show up. And what'd he do? Cheat on his wife.
No, I wasn't saying the guys that I knew cheated on their wives. I was just saying that the separation is nice. When they're stuck with each other 24/7, when the retirement hits, they're like, wait, you know what? It turns out that, yeah, you're not who I thought you were, and vice versa. So
That's true, too. That's true, too.
funny things, I had a buddy in the Navy who got a sign-on bonus, he got a bonus for signing up for an extra year. And his bonus was only like $1,200. And I said, you signed up for an extra year for 1 month of pay. And when I said that to him, he lost his mind. And shortly after, he actually bought out his extension. Like, he paid it back.
Well, they didn't even give me that opportunity.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because they gave me, it was a $1,500 bonus. I signed up, my first enlistment was 5 years. I signed up for an extra year because we'll give you a $1,500 bonus. Well, after taxes and stuff, it was $1,200. Then a couple years later, well, not a couple years, towards the end of my enlistment, I'm looking at my buddy's LES pay scale thing, and I noticed his sea service pay. And I said, hey, man, what the heck? And he goes, yeah, that's our sea service pay. Guess what, though? That's not how much I was getting paid. And guess how short I was over the year? $1,200. So they got an
Nice.
extra year from me for free.
Yeah, I didn't. There wasn't a bonus available for me when I got my rate, and I wouldn't have taken it anyway because I didn't want to go into something that I wasn't sure if I wasn't going to like it. I didn't want to be stuck. And it turns out I didn't like it, so it worked out.
I've met very few people who say they like the military. In the Navy, I loved the travel. I loved the travel. In the Army, I like that I only went to the field 3 days a year. But I'm telling you, if you join the Army, that's probably not going to happen. You're going to live out in that field. And the sucky thing about the Army, all you see is either woods or desert. The Navy, when you hit ports, you get to see great places that you can just have a lot of fun, and it's a good time. Yeah, that doesn't happen in the Army. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
We hit Portugal, and before we got off the ship, we had a safety stand down, and they were like, listen, you guys can have a good time here, but you need to be safe. You need to be smart. Don't do anything that's going to make an international incident. And there are people who will randomly walk up to you and try and sell you drugs. They might be actual drug dealers. They might be cops. And I was like, yeah, okay. Well, me and my buddies were walking down the main strip, and this guy came out of nowhere and was like, my friend, cocaine? And he had this like little like balloon ball. And I was like, no, I'm good. And as quickly as he showed up, he literally disappeared. I don't know where he went. He was like just gone, vanished. And I was like, all right. Might be true. Okay. Don't know if it was a cop. Don't know if he was legit. I didn't want any drugs anyway because I'm drug-free. Never done drugs. So
That's the crazy thing. In Thailand, where I'm sure it's still the same, but you got to remember I was in the Navy from 81 to 86, and Thailand had a death penalty for drugs. And I'm in my hotel, and some of my friends came in, and what do they have? Drugs. And but yeah, I wasn't going. I told them to get out of my room. I told them I'd meet them down by the pool. I don't want them anywhere around me. And they did leave, but I could not believe how much some people would risk. You're talking your very life so that they could get high, get stoned, whatever. To me, that wasn't very bright. But, yeah, you do see a lot of drugs over there, and I'm sure it's still the same.
were you ever did you ever go out with like import and everything with your were you ever the DD, the designated non-drinker?
No.
See, I did that a lot because they take care of you because everybody wants to drink when they get off the ship and I didn't care cuz I'm not really like I drink from time to time, but I don't it's not it's not my personality. So, I would get asked, "Hey, would you want to be the DD for our group? We'll take care of all your meals and like don't worry about anything." So that's what I did because I mean it's a good gig until you get a group that they don't know how to handle their alcohol. And I went with this group and things were not going well. And we were in Dubai, and that's not a place you want to get in trouble with the law enforcement. So they were getting so out of hand. I finally told them, I said, if you guys don't get your act together, if you guys don't collect yourselves, I will go back to the ship without you and face the wrath of the military versus what we would have to do here. I'm not going to be caught up in that mix. And they got it together pretty quick. And but I never went with that group again, and they never asked me. So it's like a win-win.
Hey, tell your story about what happened in Dubai when you noticed everybody looking at you.
Yeah, so first of all, Dubai is an amazing place. It was probably the most entertaining place that I went as far as just so many things to do, so many things to see. Their parking lots, like just the cars over there, are way cooler than what we have over here. Like over here, it's Ford, Dodge, Chevy, Toyota, all these, every once in a while you'll see a nice exotic car. Over there, it's all the time. Their taxi cabs are Mercedes. So it's just a whole different ball game over there. And we hit Dubai. This was the first time I had been there. I think we went like 2 or 3 times. But we get off the ship, and the group that I'm with are talking about, where do you want to go eat? And I'm thinking we're in Dubai. We're in a foreign country. Let's get something, from that country, And they choose Chili's. So that was that. It was already going downhill. But we go to Chili's, which is in the mall, and their mall is absolutely massive. The Mall Dubai, I think that's what it's called. And they have a ski slope inside of this mall. It's massive. And so the Chili's had its own restaurant, but they also had a section of the food court that was designated for just them. And we got put out there because we were kind of a bigger group. Now, mind you, I am not the only white guy. And as I'm there eating, I notice that everybody is staring at me. And again, I'm like, I am not the only white guy here. I don't understand. And I know for a fact I'm not that good looking. Okay, so anyway, that gets done. And then every purchase that I was making, they were telling me to keep the pin. They were, no, my friend, keep the pin. And I was like, what the heck? Oh, okay. Everybody's driving Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff like that. They can afford to give away pins. So I'm cool with it. And I finally asked my buddy, I'm like, are they giving you pins too? And he's like, no. So I thought it was super crazy. Get back to the ship. I'm telling this story to another buddy of mine who didn't get to go out. He was on duty that day. And a chief overheard my conversation, and he was like, you left-handed? I was like, yes, I am. Why? And he goes, because the only thing they use their left hand for is to wipe their ass. And I'm like, it was funny, but at the same time, I'm thinking, they have soap in the bathrooms. And by the way, their bathrooms, super clean. The bathrooms are gorgeous. Like, I would eat in their bathrooms. Like, that's how clean they are. So that was one of the different customs that, I got to experience.
That is crazy. That it's funny. It's funny. It's just you do learn different things. Like when we were in Singapore before we left, most of you probably know about Singapore. Very strict laws, and they enforce them. And you could not cross your leg and have the bottom of your foot pointed at another person. That was a tremendous insult to them. And Singapore, when I was there, and I'm sure it's still the same, but just like Chris was talking about Dubai, beautiful. If you threw gum on first off, gum, when I was there, it was illegal in Singapore. Of course, we had it because we were, sailors. We could buy it on the ship. But if you threw gum on the sidewalk and they caught you, it was a $1,000 fine. If you were using a public restroom and you didn't flush the urinal, it was a $500 fine. And that's where, the American boy who went out vandalizing, America got all up in arms because he was going to get 6 smacks with the bamboo cane, which, by the way, each time they hit you with it, they scar you. But the thing is, he knew what was expected of him. He decided to do that, to be a little vandal. And, of course, America got all up in arms. So they conceded halfway, and they only gave him 3 smacks. And, by the way, when they used to do this, I don't know if they still do it, if you passed out while they were giving you the hits, they would wake you up before they would give you the next one because you were going to feel every lick of that bamboo cane. And by the way, for people who say harsh punishment doesn't deter crime, when I was there was 1 prison. I hear now there's 3. That's still amazing because where I grew up in Fremont County, Colorado, there's over 19 prisons just in that area. So think about that. I mean, Singapore was great. It was beautiful. It was clean. Just a lot of fun. I'm sure it's even prettier now.
I bought a pair of Oakleys when I was in Dubai that had they were the O-Rockers. And when I was in Turkey, quite a few people offered me the restaurants in exchange for those sunglasses. So, now to be fair, was it their actual restaurant? Was it theirs, or was it just some random person standing inside the restaurant? I don't know, but it was just funny the way people respond to, different things that you have. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, I was glad when I could finally put the military behind me. I had to do a total of 9 years, and it set me up for my future. But the military is a hard way to go if you're married. It's very hard. You're going to be gone a lot. But like in my case, it did pay off. It helped me land my job. Finally, it took me a while to get there, but I became an immigration inspector on the border between Texas and Mexico, and then, of course, it crossed over to Homeland Security, and I was a Customs and Border Protection officer. But that's thanks to the military and thanks to God, because otherwise I would have never got that job.
Yeah, I look back and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm glad I'm glad I got to do what I did, because it's an experience that I would like. I don't think now I could ever go to another country. Life's pretty expensive. Adulting kind of sucks sometimes. I mean, there's pros and cons to adulting, but let's be fair. Being a kid was way more awesome. Like I liked the experience and everything, but I never have looked back and gone, man, I wish I would have stayed in, because just the freedoms that I have now, like the ability to go where I want when I want, is super awesome. I couldn't stand. There was a couple times that I wanted to go see my grandparents, and they weren't even that far. I think it was like a 7-hour drive or something like that. And I had to get a special, request shit just to do that. And that you can make that trip easily, get off on a Friday evening, make that trip, spend the whole Saturday with them, and then, start heading back Sunday. Why is that a problem? I don't.
Yeah, I don't think most people realize this is the best definition I've ever heard, and I've used it a few times. I don't know how the military is now. I'm glad I don't have anything to do with it. But when Chris was in, when I was in, you actually live in communism so that the rest of you can live free. That's how it works, because you don't wipe your ass without them telling you it's okay to do it. That's how the military was. I don't know what it's like now.
And I heard they have stress cards in boot camp. That has been confirmed by a buddy of mine who joined the Army shortly after I got done with boot camp in A school back in 2008. And I went back to Texas, and he had just gotten done with boot camp, and he got to come home. And I was like, "Is it true?" I was like, "I heard that like stress cards are a thing in boot camp now." And he was like, "Yeah, no, it's like legit a thing."
Stress
So-
cards are for the weak.
Yeah. Sometimes, however, like as funny as I think that is, and I also think it's pathetic. Not just funny, it's pathetic. I think to myself, man, I wish sometimes I could just hold up a stress card. You know, like
Yeah, now. In the real world, you need a stress card.
here's your mortgage bill, stress card. Not this month, Wells Fargo.
Okay, what else we got going on?
I don't know. I feel like that was a good introduction to a little bit of our past and kind of where we're going in the direction. I'm going to pick on Ford here for a second. Ford, if you're the engineer for Ford and you designed the Ford F-150, the 2015 edition, I'd like to slap you in the mouth for making a plastic oil pan. What is wrong with you? I don't understand. Why? Can we talk about vehicles right now? I'm going to talk about vehicles. Like,
Let's
why would
talk.
you do that? Why? And everybody was like, yeah, Ford sucks anyway, because I know there's going to be some comments in here like that. If you've watched this far, I don't know, you might have just given up all hope. But if you're in here, yeah, Ford sucks. No, we need to be 100% honest. All of them suck now. Nobody makes a quality, well, except for Toyota. I'll let Toyota keep that. They do still make a very good product. But every Ford, Dodge, Chevy, all of you make some crap vehicles now. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm going to say this. I own a 2021 Toyota Tacoma SR5 V6 four-wheel drive. It's nice. But the reason I got it was there's another guy who's got a YouTube channel, and he just brags up Toyotas. So I will definitely let you guys know in the future. I've got 20,000 miles on it now. If it starts giving me trouble, I'll let you know, and I'll tag a bad note to the guy's channel saying, hey, man, you were wrong. Toyotas suck too. But hopefully it doesn't go that way. I'm hoping my vehicle does really, really well. And there's all kinds of things I want to do to it. I've got some running boards on it. I got to get the 2 front windows tinted, and got to get some stuff done. There's these, they call them plasti shield guards or whatever. They can go over the tachometer and the odometer, or the speedometer and the tachometer, and the what's that thing called where your radio is and all
Your
that?
head unit?
The monitor.
Yeah, your whole head unit.
Yeah, you can protect all that because it scratches real easy in a Toyota. And I was going to do all that. Like I said, I did get the running boards on it. I got some wicked-looking running boards. But then we decided, hey, you know what? We need to do a podcast because there's all this politics and hatred, and we just wanted to bring a podcast that was going to be fun. So I put my Toyota on hold because guess what? The stuff you're seeing, it takes money. And so we're investing the money because we want to have a quality podcast. And so my Toyota's just going to have to wait a little longer.
Yeah. There's so many things that I want to do to my truck. I also have a motorcycle, so obviously you can see it right there. Motorcycle life is expensive. So generally, everything that I want to do to my truck, instead of doing that stuff, I just hold off and invest in my bike because bike life is amazing. And if you don't ride or you haven't ridden, I would highly suggest, giving it a shot. Go take the safety course. Harley Davidson holds one. I know there's a bunch of other safety courses that you can take. Harley's the only one that I know of around the area that I live. So do some research. I'm sure a quick Google search will find you something. Take the class, and if you like it, you'll get your endorsement easy, and then you can find out what it's all about and enjoy the freedom that I enjoy.
I think people who have been riding for a while too, and I'm not practicing what I preach because I had to quit riding, but I think people who have been riding for a while should take that course because they'll find out that they've been doing things incorrectly for many years. Even if it's one thing done wrong can cost you your life, whereas if you get it right, it might save your life. And that's what that course, when Chris came home, when he had finished the course and he was explaining things to me and stuff, I was like, man, that's a valuable course. And I was always an average rider. I'm not going to say I was a good rider. There are good riders. Nobody masters a motorcycle. Had a guy I worked with claimed that he was going to master riding a motorcycle, and he was a good motorcycle rider. But you never know. He was out riding with his sons. They were trail riding, and a tree limb had been struck by lightning, and it was hanging down. And his boys, as they went by, they ducked under it, no problem. He didn't see it till the last minute, caught him right in the chest and severed his heart.
Oh, man.
Killed him.
Jeez. Yeah, we had a guy in that class. He said he'd been riding for 40 years and he didn't know how he wasn't dead yet after taking that course. He was like, I have a lot of bad habits. But the courses that definitely saved my life, shoot, countless times just from the things that they teach you, your lane positioning, how as enjoyable as riding a bike is, it is still what's the word? A chore, a responsibility. There you go. It's still a responsibility. You have to stay alert. While yes, other people should be looking out for you, that's not always the case. So you need to ride like everybody's out to kill you. Don't trust that person who's coming up to the stop sign or the stoplight. Do not trust that they're actually going to stop. Make a game plan as you're coming up to the intersections of, okay, if this does happen, where's my escape route? What's my game plan? It's a constant, just you have to be using your head. And that's some of the things that they teach you in this course. And it's super awesome. And, yeah, I recommend it to anybody who is thinking about riding, or like my dad said, who even does ride it. You might have some bad habits that you don't even know about.
I definitely, talking about you're planning ahead. And I'm sure some of my buddies did that, which is what you should do. And like I said, I wasn't a good rider. I just rode. And I rode for years, but I was never thinking about escape places or whatever. So I'm fortunate to be sitting in this chair and not be. And I should have been killed on a motorcycle. I'm very, very fortunate. And yes, I did hit a parked car one time going very fast. So there you go. There's some bad habits for you.
I've dropped my bike a couple of times, 3 times to be exact. So,
yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, but to be fair, I was, let's see. So the first time you and I were about to go for a ride, we still did go on that ride, but I literally got off. It was right at your house, that road that was right next to the driveway. I noticed a bolt in the road, and I just wanted to be, a kind person and get it out of the street so nobody got a flat tire. And stopped my bike, put the kickstand down, and thought everything was good to go. Started to walk away and heard the sound of the kickstand popping back up. A nice little ka-dunk, like the popping noise it makes when it goes up. And I turned around just in time to watch my bike go bam. And that is a soul-wrenching experience. I was not a fan of that. I almost didn't want to go ride. I wanted to cry, but I had to be strong. And we did go for a ride, and it was nice. And then the time after that, it was right after I picked up my bike, because the next time that you and I went riding, we found that slash in my back tire.
Yeah.
So I had to get the tire replaced, and I did that. And when I went and picked it up, as I was leaving the town where I was getting it taken care of, I ran into a buddy of mine, and we were talking on the side of the road, and my right foot was in gravel, and my foot lost its footing, and I just slowly dropped the bike over. And then the third time was literally backing up out of this garage to go work out. And I backed up, and my foot hit the grass, and it was kind of, it was later at night. There was dew on the grass, so it was slick. And my foot slipped out from under me, and I dropped the bike again. But, the soft drops. I haven't dropped it while riding, so.
And here's the kind of, and hopefully you guys will get a kick out of this. I did not get a kick out of it because I was so highly embarrassed. But when I had got a new bike when I was a senior in high school, I bought the brand new Kawasaki 550 LTZ KZ. It was a 4-cylinder, blew my buddy 750 away. He was so disappointed because he figured the bigger number meant it would be faster. But when you got a 4-cylinder bike versus a 3-cylinder or a 2-cylinder, guess who's going to win? The 4-cylinder. It doesn't matter what that number says. But anyway, it was brand new. And at my school, we had open campus for lunch. I know they probably don't do that anymore either. But I cruised over to Burger King because I knew a lot of people would be there. And I pulled in the parking lot. We didn't have a helmet law in Colorado. That way everybody could see me and know who I was. And man, do I wish we would have had a helmet law, because I at least could have got out of there. But anyway, I pulled into the parking spot, put my feet up on the pegs, kind of gave my hair a little wave, and fell over right in front of everybody, because before I put my foot up, I forgot a very important detail. And that was putting the kickstand down. So, yeah, there I was, laid out on the parking lot of Burger King. I jumped up real quick and got out of there. I didn't even go in and eat because I was so embarrassed.
That's crazy. If you could have, like, I know you don't ride now, but if you could have any bike, which one would it be?
Well, you know me, I'm partial to cruisers, and you're partial to crotch rockets, so... or what do they call your bikes?
Yeah, crotch rockets,
Yeah,
sports bikes.
Yeah, sports bikes. That's a nice name for them. I like cruisers because, listen, I used to get nervous about how fast my son goes on his bike, but then my wife, she's a blessing, very intelligent. She said, how fast would you go on your motorcycle when you had it? And I said, as fast as it would go. She said, well, there you go. You would be doing the same thing if you were young again and you were riding one of those. And I said, oh, yeah, that's true. So the only thing you can do when your kids are out there riding, you just hope and pray that they come back to you. But, yeah, I'm partial to cruisers because I just like kicking back. And
to be fair, I haven't redlined in 6th gear yet, so I haven't hit as fast as I can go. So if that makes you feel any better. I have, so for me, a dream bike of mine is a Gixxer 1000, anything 18 or newer. Cruiser-wise, though, I really love Honda Goldwings. Those are some nice bikes. And I definitely wouldn't mind trying out the Harley-Davidson ADV that they have.
I don't even know what that is.
I feel like it's their
kind of looks like a sport bike.
No, it's like there's an actual word for it. It's like an adventure bike. It's like a cruiser mixed with a dirt bike.
Oh, yeah,
like an enduro,
yeah.
Cruiser. I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, you said your dream bike's a Gixxer 1000, but what kind of bike do you ride?
A 750, which is plenty fast enough. If we're being honest, a 750 is plenty fast enough. Even a 400, that you can still do some wicked numbers on, the smaller bikes. The lighter, you can throw yourself around corners. If it's got 2 wheels, I'm a fan of it. I don't hate on any bikes. I'm not one of those Gixxer guys, your typical, squids who's, oh, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. I'm not into that, especially since I don't pay people's bills. I'm just a fan of 2 wheels. But yeah, I love this bike. It's amazing. It's fast. It's agile. I just love the body style of the 1000s. The headlight's different. The tail light is different. It's just the bike itself is just a completely different package. So that's why it's my dream bike. So.
And I will assure you, we're not going to give the police any fodder, but he has definitely gone faster on that bike than probably 99.9% of you have even done it in a car. The bike flies. If you put wings on it, it would probably take off. It's fast.
And if it does wind up local police around here do wind up watching this podcast, obviously it's a smaller town, like you're going to know where I live. I can assure you, I don't piss where I sleep. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand why, if you live in a smaller town, you're going out and just being ridiculous. That doesn't make sense to me. Like where I go is, like, if I'm on the highway, if I'm hitting a ridiculous speed, there's nobody around. The highway is empty. I don't do it. I'm not one of those people that you're going to catch in city traffic, doing 190 whatever miles an hour, weaving in and out of traffic. That's ignorance, and that's asking to lose your life. And I'm not asking to lose my life. I do it because the speeds that I hit, it's a freedom that can't be matched by anything else I've ever done. So that's kind of why I do it.
And I quit riding because I have a stomach problem that gives me problems everywhere, and controlling the bike, leaning back and forth and everything, it was giving me problems, so I sold it. And there's just really not anyone to ride with around here. And I know you think, well, you could ride with your son, but no, not necessarily, because they're all a bunch of they got a whole group of them who are on crotch rockets, sports bikes, whatever you want to call them, and that's just not me. I want the comfort of being, laying back and just driving. My last bike was a Suzuki Boulevard, and
That's not true.
It wasn't?
No.
Oh,
you,
no.
you gave me that little 2015
Oh, yeah,
CBR 250. That was my first bike. He gave that to me, and he was like, "Hey, don't go riding this until you take the course." So yeah,
that bike with me on it. Now it would be slower with Chris on it. It was a CBR 250 Honda. I got it up. This is crazy. Hold on. I got it up to 92 miles an hour.
Oh, I got it faster than that.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had to tuck real hard, and like I might have been on a downhill slope. I don't know, but I was over on 43.
How fast did you go?
I got it up to 98 miles an hour.
Woo!
That sucker was booking. We were moving.
Okay, my real bike, my last real bike was
Hey,
a
250s are real bikes. Don't take that away from. If
Oh,
you
yeah,
ride
yeah.
a 250,
Yeah.
listen, you can die on that just as fast as I can die on mine.
That's true. That's true. Okay, my last bike that could get up and move. It was a Suzuki Boulevard. It was 850, and
Yeah, I don't know.
had a guy who had a bunch of bikes. He took it for a ride, and he came back and he said, "Man, this thing rides like a 1500." So it was real easy for me to sell. He told it. The guy who took it for a ride, he told his buddy about it. His buddy came right over and bought it. So got me out of a bill, and I had the freedom from that. And but then, yeah, I got that Honda CBR 250 because I wanted to ride again. But then I found out my stomach couldn't handle it, so I gave the bike to my son.
I had that bike for. Okay, I had it for a while, but when I actually started riding it, I only rode it for 3 days, and then I traded it in. So, nothing against the CBR. It was a fun bike, but here's why I did it, okay? It wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't. My whole thing was when I did the course with Harley, they put you on these like little 300 Sportsters, and they were very comfortable.
300 or 880?
I don't know. I'm going in
880
cc's.
Sportster.
I think it converts into like a 300 cc or
Oh, okay,
something.
okay.
They're not very big bikes. And I was very comfortable. So when I was out riding this little CBR, my butt was just killing me. It was horrible. And I did want a little more power. So I talked to my wife and I was like, "Listen, I think I want to get a cruiser, but I've been looking at these Kawasaki Vulcan 650s." So she was like, "Yeah, I mean, trade that in and get the Vulcan." And I was like, "All right." So that's what I did, and I love that bike. It was a very nice bike. The only problem that I had with it was I got just as uncomfortable on that thing as I did on the 250. My butt was just as numb, and I discovered that you have to build up an endurance to sitting on a bike for that long. And also at highway speeds, like obviously that it would top out at 110. So obviously 70 miles an hour, 77 miles an hour on the highway, it'll do that. But the whole time I'm like, where's the next gear?
Exactly.
Like it's just the RPMs were just sitting too high. And so I had that for a couple months, and then I just told my wife, I was like, yeah, I made a mistake. I want a sports bike. Like that's just, it's more my personality. It's more my demeanor. And, she was like, I thought, sports bikes are uncomfortable. I was like, yeah, they're just as uncomfortable as, Now, granted, a Vulcan is not the most luxurious cruiser out there, but the way you sit is cruiser style. So the fact that I was still getting, sore in the rear region, I I just wanted something else. So she was like, okay, list it for sale and we'll get you something else. And I was trying to get on a 2020 Kawasaki ZX-10R, and my monthly payments were going to be perfect, like exactly where I wanted them. But then I called and got an insurance quote. And when I tell you that my jaw hit the floor, it hit the floor. And I don't understand insurance either. That blows my mind. I don't understand how the prices can vary. Like same insurance company in different cities, counties, states can be so different. I understand that some of it has to do with, the accident, percentages and everything like that. But it blew my mind. But the insurance for that ZX-10R was going to be $235 a month for full coverage. Man. And I was like, that's more than the monthly payment. I'm not doing that. So I went back to the drawing board, started looking, and found this beast right here, the Gixxer 750, and went in and was looking around the showroom floor, and I was like, hey, I looked online, it said that this bike was here, and they were like, yeah, it should be. They went in the back, it was still in the crate, hadn't even been put together yet. So yeah, I got that bike, and I love it. It's an amazing bike.
Well, since we're talking about motorcycles, let's change gears. No pun intended. But since you mentioned, dealing with your wife and how things go, how about relating the story that just happened?
All right.
Because that's hilarious. Hey, listen, this is so you guys can, we want you guys to have fun on this channel. Hopefully you're going to find some humor. And if this story doesn't make you laugh, maybe you're just not funny.
So my buddy had gotten in a car accident, and he had sent pictures in the app that we're all part of, and I told Roxy about it or something like that, or she asked, and I was like, yeah, the pictures are in there. It's a car and a truck. She goes in there, and she's like, I see the car, but I don't see the truck. And I'm like, it's there. That's the only two pictures. And she's like, there's no truck in here. And now, mind you, this is like first thing in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm one of those people who don't mess with me for like the first 45 minutes to an hour of me getting up. Just leave me alone. So this was already a scenario for disaster. And so anyway, I open it up, and right there, the pictures are right there. And I go, look, it's right here. And she goes, that's not a truck. And I was like, SUV, truck, same difference. And here's where we're going to take a time out, give you a little lesson. I don't know if you know this, but most SUVs are categorized as light trucks because they're built on truck frames. I would never call an SUV a car. So if I call an SUV a truck, it's just sometimes it happens. And I'm not wrong, but also at the same time, you might say, well, that's not right either because it's an SUV. Well, technically categorized light truck. So anyway, she was like, that's not a truck. I will fight you. Now, again, not a morning person. Also a guy who, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess very testosterone based. I don't.
Yeah, and let me interrupt before you tell the story. Now, when I hear my daughter-in-law, she's like my daughter. When I hear my daughter-in-law say, I will fight you, I know automatically what comes into my mind is not throwing hands because I know her.
That's exactly what popped into my head. I thought it was throwing hands. So I was like, let's throw hands. I'll knock you the fuck out. Now, obviously, let's put this out there right now. I would never and will never put my hands on my wife because that's not what a real man does. A real man knows how to use his words. Obviously, I used a poor choice of words right there, but we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and we did talk about it afterwards, and I did apologize. I was in the wrong. But, as soon as I said that, she goes, I'll just leave then. Now, my brain is in, we're about to throw hands, and now she's saying I'm just going to leave. what a wimp. Like, you're not even going to stand your ground. That was easy. But obviously, after we talked about it and she explained, she was like, I was talking about fighting with words. Then it became even funnier because I was like, that whole scenario that ran through my head that I found funny is no longer, it's like void. So this got even funnier to me. And funny situation that is funny now. It wasn't funny then. But, communication is key when it comes to relationships and working things out.
Any of you guys who have been married for a while know you can look back and say, man, we had some arguments over some stupid things. But in the heat of the moment, man, it's the heat of the moment. And my wife and I have been married for 37 years. This May will be 38 years. Yes, we did things correctly. We got married first and then had children. And that was a blessing within itself because we were married for 3 years before Chris was born. So it gave us enough time to, really get to know each other. And even after the child is born, we're out driving one day and I turned to Teresa and I said, hey, let's go to the movies. Forgetting that I have a newborn infant in the back seat, Teresa just looked at me and goes, fine, what would you like to do with Chris while we're there? Because you're so used to it just being you and her. And now I realize some of you, you have children before you get married and, you don't have that luxury. Things are completely different. Matter of fact, I don't know how you guys do it because Teresa and I were in the situation we didn't even have anybody who could watch our kids until I think my daughter was 3 years old, which would have made you how old?
6.
6. So we never were able to get away, just her and I. For those of you who can do that, definitely take advantage of it. That was not an advantage we had, but we don't regret any of it. And we're gonna have some discussions on here sometimes about marriage because there's some fun things that go on in marriage, and people are different. You're bringing two different people together and trying to function as one, and that's it can be a lot of fun. It can also be stressful. But I will tell you this, and this is a fact. It's proven. This is a scientific fact. If you want to argue it, argue with the people who did the testing. If your marriage is in tremendous trouble and you feel like just throwing in the towel, if you will stick it out and work at it, in 5 years, your marriage will be better than it's ever been. And I can tell you, I know that to be true. So there's a grain of knowledge for you.
Don't they say like the hardest years of marriage are like your second year, your 7th year, and your 14th year or something like that?
I agree with my buddy who said, you don't even know if you like your spouse until you've been married 10 years.
That's awesome. I think I knew right away, though. I liked her.
Yeah, I mean, so I knew I liked your mom right away, but you go through so many changes, some you don't even recognize. And but if you're not willing to change, I have a buddy, he's not willing to change. He says if his wife doesn't like the way things are going, there's the door. That's pretty hardcore. That is pretty hardcore. But you have to be willing to change. You have to be able to work at things, and that's what brings about the blessings. Because I know everybody wants things right now, right here. Teresa and I are in our 50s. What am I talking about? I'm 60. My wife's in her 50s. It took us that long to where we had any kind of freedom, really, to be able to do things. And so you got to decide, am I willing to put in the hard work? Because the hard work brings about great blessings. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're going to get the results of not putting in the work.
We just lost about 50% of the people. He said hard work. I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I don't. But that's seems like a good place to stop. I feel like this is we have so much to talk about. We'll have so many more podcasts. I'm excited about this. I hope you guys are too. But yeah, this is XY on the fly. This is who we are, part of it. You're going to hear so much more. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope we will see you on the next podcast.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and spread the joy. Tell your friends about us. We're just going to get funnier and funnier because, well, Chris is going to get funnier and funnier. I'm not that funny. This guy can do voices and everything. We can have a lot of fun. I'll just be the laugh track because I know how to laugh.
Heck yeah. Thanks, you guys.